Be honest, I told you that I have diabetes,
Yes.
and I am control it myself. So
Sure.
far, so good. And you came down.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And you came down with that.
Yes.
Well, you didn't come down with it. You have diabetes.
I have diabetes, and it's not going anywhere.
No,
So
you're never cured from diabetes.
we're never going to get
No.
cured as far as things. If things continue the way they are, I don't see a cure.
But you
anytime soon.
handle it yourself.
Yes, I do.
Excellent.
Diet, exercise.
You lost a lot of weight.
I
Or was
have.
it a lot or?
Well, I've lost about 18 pounds. I guess that's a
I would
lot.
say that's a
but
lot.
Gained a lot more muscle lately because I've been exercising,
Yeah.
and that's certainly healthcare is really about, unfortunately, helping yourself.
Yes.
You really have to be your own advocate.
Yeah.
And those are not my words. Those are really words from my own patients, that you really have to be your own advocate in order to take care of yourself and your family.
I was at the gym, I think it was yesterday, Sunday, and a lot of people there, even with the weather. I thought that was wonderful. Yes. Now, since that happened to you, and you were sort of blindsided by that,
Sure.
what did you decide to do? Something clicked in you.
I decided that in order for us, all of us with all sorts of chronic diseases, to make a change, to make a stand, something had to be done. And we need to take advantage of technology. And therefore I started a nonprofit called the Cure-All Foundation.
I like that. And you mean
Everybody,
the masses.
all of us,
all
the
of us.
public, the people.
public.
Because we're all going to get sick,
Yes.
and we all know someone who is sick that we care about, that we love, and therefore I decided this is something we had to do. So the Cure-All Foundation, we started it, put it on the drawing boards almost a year ago, and right now we're in the final phases in getting this web platform to operate.
So, okay, so let's break it down. Web, people will go on.
Yes.
But what will they do? What will happen? What does your organization want? We want to make sure that research is available to us at a fingertip, the latest thing that's coming on. Is that right?
What I want to do is rather simple. When we're talking about being sick, there are really two groups that are the most important sectors that we really need to focus on. One group are the researchers. And right now, the researchers that are working, the scientists, they're spread out all over the world. They're not really talking to one another except through journals that are published once in a while in different languages, or through conferences, or through small local networks. That's how doctors, researchers, scientists are communicating with one another. And then there are the other branches of science. Besides the biological sciences, there are the physicists, the chemists. They do talk, but not as effectively and efficiently as we would like them to. I'm sure that if the different branches were able to talk to one another instantaneously, more effectively, we'd be able to find solutions a little faster. And at the same time, there are researchers all over the world that are finding themselves in very, very difficult positions due to financial limitations. So that's...
And can they share? Is it legally, can they share?
They can share data, but the
share.
problem is there's something called publication bias. If you look it up online, and it means certain research and certain results get published a lot more than others. And certain research that the editors consider not as effective or not newsworthy doesn't get published. So these biases and these inefficiencies make it difficult for those doing their work to get all the information that's really out there. These groups are not talking effectively. They're not talking like on Facebook, like on Twitter. They're not communicating that way. They're still waiting for snail journals to get their stories out, to get their points out. And they're still at the mercy of editors deciding whether this information can come out. Language barriers still exist in the scientific world. And
You mean somebody in Japan won't doesn't communicate with somebody here in the United States?
Well, not so much Japan maybe, but say Argentina,
Okay.
say Chile,
Yeah.
say China, say Saudi Arabia, say Zaire. Certain countries do not get the same kinds of exposure. And a lot of times, researchers in these countries face fewer regulations. And they have worthwhile information that they're willing to share. And they're also willing to learn from. They have a different kind of opportunities in those countries. And we have different kinds of opportunities. The information is just not transparent. It is not flowing. And that's the kinds of information that will make a change. That's the kind of information that will advance science. And obviously, once again, we're talking about financial limitations. Researchers in China very often get paid less than taxi drivers do.
I'm not surprised.
And yet they have to do the same, and they want to do the same kinds of work. Researchers in a lot of developing countries decide that they want to be researchers because they care, because they want to make a difference. It's not a financial gain for them as much as an intellectual or a personal one. But these limitations and barriers are very real. Not being able to get funding and not being able to communicate, these are real barriers that challenges researchers all over the globe.
So what can the public do to change that?
The public, well, who is the public? The public is all of us.
Yes.
We're all going to get sick. We all are, unfortunately. We are going to touch illnesses, whether through ourselves or through our loved ones and friends.
And look at how long illnesses have been around.
You know, we talk about the healthcare budget crisis. Well, there are so many chronic diseases out there that we cannot cure, that we just continue to manage. Take diabetes, for example. Those needles cost a lot of money. Those strips cost a lot of money. The drugs cost a lot of money.
The little case.
And look at the side effects. I mean, we read the never-ending list of side effects. And then the costs, the insurance costs, you know, what it costs us to get insurance, what it costs for the insurance to pay the pharmaceutical company. And then we hear all this background noise about, you know, how to reduce costs. Well, to reduce costs, we really need to look at finding cures, ultimately cures and treatments that are more effective than those that are just maintaining at best, not improving the quality of lives. The public is all of us. The public is suffering. The public is suffering because we're put in a system that we can do nothing about. We don't know who are those working to try to improve our lives. We have no clue who they are. We have no clue where they are. We have no clue.
And they don't share.
What they're doing. They
Yes.
have no ability to share. And we have no say. We have no place on the negotiation table in terms of trying to say who we want to support, which researcher we want to support, how we want to support them. Very often we donate to charities and we ask, well, where does that money go? Does it all go to researchers? And very often we rely on governments. I'm not just talking about ours, we're talking about government as a whole. Government's large, it's very, very bureaucratic. And we are depending on them to make the best decisions for us as to what research to fund, how much to fund, who to fund. I think, and you can call me crazy, as diabetics, you and I, we can probably make a better decision as to where we want to spend our money. And I mean which researchers to support, where, why, how. And in exchange, we want to know what they're doing for us. We want to know what the progress is. Because I think ultimately in America, this is something we believe. We, the people, make the best decisions. So why is it that when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to funding those who are out there to supposedly treat us and cure us, how come we're no longer
Involved.
the best people to make that decision in this country that believes in the fact that the people makes the best decision?
So how can we get this started, or have you started it, or tell us about that?
The Cure All platform is very simple. Think of it as a online telephone
And
book.
it's C-U-R-E dash.
It's CUREALL,
ALL,
one word,
one word.
.org. So
Okay.
CUREALL.org.
Can they go on and find this?
The platform is currently being developed. We would say in a matter of a couple of weeks, it will be complete. And even right now, people can go on and they can enter their emails. We'll put it in a storage system. And once the site goes live, we will contact them. But importantly is,
Do you need money for this, donation?
nothing.
Nothing.
You don't. So let's make this very clear. Nobody on Cure-All is getting paid. Nobody. It is
Good.
completely a volunteer-run organization. Yes, there is overhead. I am funding the overhead out of my own finances. We do not want Cure-All to be like some nonprofits out there where there's a CEO making a lot of money and there's a lot of money being wasted here and there. We are going to use guerrilla marketing. We are going to simply be a phone book. We are the yellow pages for research.
Won't that be nice? Walk your fingers through it.
Wouldn't that be awesome? You'd be able to find out who, where, how is working on a particular disease.
So I could say, I'm a diabetic, I want to see what's happening in research. Will and how will you get the researchers to share? Isn't there some reason that they don't share?
I believe that those who are working on research really do care about people, because many of them are smart enough to be investment bankers or work in any other field in the world and make a wonderful living. But they've chose to make a living out of doing something that's meaningful. That's what those researchers are all about. But they need to be funded. Our phone book, Cure-All, the phone book of scientific research, will give you their information. You can decide if you want to donate and make a difference. You can decide when to donate, how much to donate, and you will know exactly where that money goes. And these researchers will then be obligated to share their findings with you. It's a market economy. Those who decide to share the most will be embraced by the public. Those who show progress will be embraced by the public.
So when I go on
Yes.
to Cure-All
Yes.
and I tap in, what do I find? What will I eventually?
You will find 3 columns. Column number 1, all the researchers working on curing the disease. Column number 2, all the researchers working on drugs or techniques to improve your current condition. Not cure you, but improve.
Things that are accessible to me.
For example, as diabetics, we can potentially suffer from something called neuropathy.
Yes. Circulation.
There are a lot of diseases out there that encompasses neuropathy.
Oh.
And sometimes, for some of us, those who may find a cure a little bit more far-fetched, we want to support those who are trying to alleviate neuropathy. The management column will have researchers working on trying to improve and alleviate and improve our quality of lives due to those symptoms. And we can support those. And the final column will encompass those working on basic sciences. Unfortunately, some diseases are very, very poorly understood. And funding still needs to go into basic sciences. The DNA part, the early stage experimental part. And that one column will provide you access to those researchers.
And you can literally go in and get those researchers?
You can literally go in and look at those researchers, review their portfolio, review their CV, find out what exactly they're doing, what have they done, what is their latest update, and beat this. Ask them questions.
Can you really? They'll be willing to do that, or you'll have them on, or have you gotten that far?
It is all developed. We just need to finally test this and launch it to the public. Like I said, get on the site, enter your email, and as soon as the site turns live, we will share it with you.
Can they do it now?
They can enter their emails right now.
Now.
The site will go live probably in a couple of weeks.
And it will say, they will enter it, cure-all?
Go to curall.org,
Oh,
enter your
dot org.
email, and as soon as the site goes live, we will go ahead and send you an email. But we need the help of the public, and this is how the public can help us. Once the site goes live for each one of the diseases, say diabetes, for example, and we'd love to have you, Phyllis, serve on the board and help us find those researchers. Reach out to those researchers.
How will we do that? How would,
We
is it a tough task to reach out to
It is
them?
not a tough task. In Boston, your doctor may be one of the top researchers. You go to Jocelyn.
Yes,
Your doctor may be someone who is working on the latest and the best curative research for diabetes. And he or she may not have the funding he or she wants. He or she may not have the communication platforms to talk to all the other researchers out there. He or she may be interested in what are they doing for this particular disease in China, in Taiwan, in Singapore, in Thailand. He or she may not know. Tell them about this platform. Reach out to them.
and then what will they do?
We will invite them,
Okay,
and we, the board, not me, for each disease there will be a board composed of people, patients, their families, a couple of researchers and scientists. Together they'll come in and they'll decide whether a particular researcher is qualified to be admitted to the Cure-All platform, to be admitted to the directory. So that way we the people, decide who we think is qualified to be on our platform. We the people decide who to support, when to support, how much to support. And we the people will learn from the researchers as to what is the latest, what have they done. And the researchers will communicate amongst one another globally, not locally, share information. And we will reward those who share, who progress. And we will no longer stick with a system that doesn't work. And there are so many things that we have learned in the past years on what the challenges are and why things haven't worked.
so
And we're gonna
somebody
change
from
that.
Jocelyn
Yep.
goes on your site.
Yes.
And shares. You deem them fit, that they have
We
hit
deem
all
them
the
fit.
we deem them fit, all the requirements.
Yes.
They are researchers and everything else.
Yes.
They go on, and
Yes.
then what happens from there?
They create a profile, their
Okay.
profile,
Their profile
They-
of their background?
of their background, who
Yeah.
they are.
Yes,
They write a short paragraph on what it is that they are doing.
what
their
research they're working on.
What research they're working
or
on
not.
in language that we understand. Not in language that is so eccentric that we the people have no idea.
Layman's terms.
In layman's terms, they're going to have a short-term goal. They're going to have a long-term goal. They're going to show us their current research budget, where they're spending their money on. And they're going to give us updates. They're going to tell us, well, what have I done today, yesterday, last week? And they are going to be faced with questions from the public.
Two questions come to mind. Would Jocelyn let their researchers come on? And
I think there will be certain institutions that would embrace this.
embrace it.
They are the institutions that are realists about the world. We are moving towards open platforms with everything. Wikipedia, look at Wikipedia. Who would have thought that an encyclopedia written by we the people would be one of the biggest encyclopedias in the world, would be the top search result on Google, would be something that we all depend on, whether we want to admit it or not. Wiki provides an open source platform for we the people to share, and it's pretty accurate. The institutions of the past must change. They must accept open platforms because we the people know that it works and we demand it. Those who decide to insulate their institutions will be insulating them from funding, from public funding, which is a very, very powerful platform.
So if I go on and I see something, boy, this person from Jocelyn really is onto something. somebody in another country can pick it up too.
Absolutely. Anyone, anywhere.
And if I say, you know, I'd like to donate because I'd like to get this advanced. They look like they're pretty, this is going to help, and they have knowledge and they think it will work. How do I do that? I just can.
You go on. There's so many ways to donate. One way is we're going to give you their bank account information. You can go to your local bank and you can wire that researcher money directly. You can mail him or her a check. None of this goes through Cure-All. Remember, we are a phone book. We're not there to make money. We're not there to be a middleman. We're not there to do any of that. Okay? You can wire the researcher money. You can send them a check. You can use something called PayPal and send the money. So we don't want to be, our platform is simply the directory. We want you to have the secrecy, the privacy, whatever you want to call it, and donate. This is between you. This is a personal relationship between, it used to be between you and your doctor.
Yes.
Now it's between you and your scientist, you and your researcher.
What would stop a researcher from doing it? I don't want them to know how much I know, and I don't want to share it yet. I don't want that person in another country to know this yet, because I may have I want to get, what would keep them from sharing?
I think there are so many reasons out there that can be perceived as a barrier to why they would want to share. But I can tell you this, if they really sat back and they thought about this, their ultimate goal is to succeed in finding a cure or advancing treatment for a particular disease or advancing basic science. That's their ultimate goal. That is the finish line. If they are to look at some of the non-significant and superficial goals like ego or barriers, institutional barriers, and because of that, they decide not to advance, those are probably the people that would have never advanced in the first place anyways.
Okay. All right. So they would, they would withhold anyway.
They would withhold anyways. Those who are true to the cause, and those are the people we, the people, want to support, they're not going to think that way. It is only those who would have never succeeded anyways in the first place.
So you say it will be launched in a couple of weeks?
It will launch in a couple of weeks. We're in a final phase of testing.
But we can still go on now and get our email in there.
Absolutely. The reason why the testing phase is so critical...
They're telling me 5 minutes.
Sure. The reason the testing phase is so critical is because we want to make sure that when someone who is not so computer literate goes on, it is so simple and it is so trouble-free for us to touch those researchers and let them share with us their work without any glitches.
Do you have any in mind? Has there been any inroads there?
I have one of my favorite researchers, scientists. Her name is Dr. Faustman. She works at MGH, and she doesn't treat, she's not looking at type 2 diabetes,
yes.
Something that you and I...
Yeah. But she's looking at something else.
She's looking at type 1.
General Hospital, type 1.
Type 1 diabetes. She's working on type 1.
And that is really tough.
It is tough. You and I can control with diet and exercise.
Yes.
The type 1s out there can't.
Well, the pancreas doesn't make the insulin.
And they need to inject themselves with insulin.
Yes.
Imagine that quality of life.
Tough.
She has been, she has done the first phases of research on an animal model using an old vaccine for tuberculosis, and she's shown that it has reversed type 1 diabetes in the animal model. And now she, unfortunately, needs to go solicit funding to advance her research. I'm not telling you that her research will work or doesn't work, but it indicates to me that there are researchers out there that are innovative.
And wouldn't that be great? Here she is saying, I can't take this any further, but I'll put it out there for the public to see if they want to help me take it further.
Well, why shouldn't the public help someone like that?
Yes, absolutely.
And why is it that we shouldn't, and we're not, publicizing someone like her effectively to the global patient base?
So 2 reasons. Will Mass General support it?
I hope so. I think it would be wise for institutions out there to support such legitimate causes that will definitely make a difference.
And if they didn't, then you can't use them, right? I mean, and you don't want them anyway. If they're not willing to share, they can't get out of the loophole of the hospital, the research person.
I think through programs like this,
Yes.
and through our
It'll be
platform,
safe.
we will create an environment
That will
that people will
demand,
think about
but
change
yes.
and demand change.
Yes.
We need to create that demand. We need to create that understanding. Just by having this conversation, we have shown the public very clearly what the problems are. And it isn't, Congress and White House deciding the budget. The problem is a lot bigger than that. They're talking about a later stage of the problem. They're talking about the monies, okay? How we should appropriate monies in treating patients. We're talking about the source. The source is we need a cure. And Cure-All will do that.
Yeah, now, we have 1 minute. It goes so fast.
Please.
And we'll keep having you on so
Sure.
that people know, what would you leave the public with? What should they do?
We want you, the public, if you can, to sign on to Cure-All, share with us your email. We want you, the public, to understand that Cure-All is one of many platforms out there, but the only platform that I know, that I believe in, as a sick person with someone with diabetes, that I hope will change the way healthcare is run and will accelerate the pace of scientific research in finding a cure for all of us.
So they should go on now and put their email in.
Yes. And they should talk to
yeah.
everybody, everybody about this. They should
And if you visit your primary care, say.
tell them.
Yes.
Tell them there's something new
Come
going on.
on.
There's going to be a platform where even you, the
Yes.
primary care, could get in touch with research out there and learn.
And it will give you hope for somebody who has whatever. We have to wrap it up.
Sure.
Dr. Abdul Wahid, I love the name.
Thank you.
I thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.